So do you remember when Neil Young, the guy who was afraid of GMOs, but not afraid of experimental vaccines, in fact, wants you to have them forced on you. Neil Young, when he left Spotify, he then went and put his music up on that charity website, Amazon. I don't know if you know that. So he wanted you to go, Spotify, too toxic for society and our culture. Go get his music on Amazon. So you see the kind of, and by the way, he had already sold his music. The real, and here's what they said: until real action is taken to show that a concern for humanity must be balanced with commerce, we don't want our music or the music we made together to be on the same until real action is taken. Well, I guess real action was taken because those guys came crawling back to Spotify just 6 months later. So I just want to go back to this clip. Until real action is taken to show that a concern for humanity must be balanced, I want you to go to Amazon where there's no concern for humans peeing in water bottles, just non-compliance with Neil Young's beliefs. So they didn't take any action, but they went back to Spotify anyway. Isn't that something? First of all, this headline is a lie. They didn't come crawling back to Spotify. He doesn't own his catalog. He had to request that the label that owns it take his music off. So he doesn't own. This is David Crosby. He doesn't own it. He had to beg them to take it off Spotify because he doesn't own it. Why? Because they already sold it. You already sold it to frickin' private equity firms and what have you. Well, for instance, artists put music back on Spotify after Joe Rogan protest lasts 5 months, Kurt.
Their mission
is completed, like how Ukraine strategically withdrew and gave up territory that one time.
Guys, it was a great 5 months. They didn't even put it back, right? The owners did.
No, the owners of the music did. And who owns it? Well, look, remember when Neil Young sold it to Hypnosis, a company called
Oh, it's Hypnosis.
Hypnosis, right?
Yeah.
Who are they? Well, we're going to find out. While terms of Young's deal with Hypnosis were not disclosed, an industry source tells Variety the sum is $50 million. That's a lot of money. In October, the Blackstone Group, an alternative investment management company, announced that it would partner with Mercuriadis to invest $1 billion to acquire song catalogs and music rights. It also announced that Blackstone would take an ownership stake in Hypnosis. So Blackstone is owning Neil Young's music, and he's making a stand against Joe Rogan, but he's not making a stand against Blackstone, the people raping the earth right now. No. In fact, no. In 2019, a United Nations report found that Blackstone's massive purchasing of single-family homes after the financial crisis in 2007-8 had a devastating consequence. What? Is there more, Jimmy? Yes. The report alleged that Blackstone had abused tenants with exorbitant fees, rent hikes, and aggressive eviction practices, and that Blackstone's real estate practices had a disproportionate impact on communities of color, in part because the company's targeted foreclosures resulting from subprime loans. So Neil Young doesn't care about any of that. That's not him. That's not worth his breath. That's not worth him asking someone to remove something from somewhere. Nope. The report also condemned Blackstone for using its significant resources and political leverage to undermine domestic laws and policies that would, in fact, improve access to adequate housing. So he doesn't mind that. Isn't that weird?
It's almost like he doesn't know anything about anything.
It's almost like Neil Young, Crosby, Stills, and Nash don't know anything about anything because they don't. United Nations housing rapporteur criticized Blackstone's business practices, including frequent rent increases and aggressive evictions, for contributing to the global housing crisis. Want to know what else? Warren says Blackstone's worsening climate change and new private equity salvo. Huh? Senator Elizabeth Warren is accusing the Blackstone Group of financing the destruction of the Amazon rainforest. So those are the people that Neil Young is cool with being in business with. But Joe Rogan, that's a bridge to Joe Rogan having scientists and the leading doctors in their field to have a counter idea narrative to what criminals like Fauci are saying. That's a bridge too far. Joe Rogan humiliating Dr. Sanjay Gupta, getting him to admit they were lying. That's a bridge too far for Neil Young, the big phony moron. Blackstone has a stake in Hydrovias, an infrastructure company reportedly linked to deforestation in the rainforest. What else do they do? They're also in bed with pharmaceutical companies to the tune of $2 billion.
So that's why they can afford the tremendous loss of revenue from all those Neil Young songs.
Neil Young, that's right. and why is it Neil Young angry at CNN for obviously doctoring a photo of Joe Rogan when he was talking about getting better from COVID? He got better in 2 days. Tested negative.
He doesn't know anything about it.
He's not upset at this. He's not upset that when the doctor went on Joe Rogan's show, Joe Rogan schooled the doctor.
For one. But the point is, that's a lie.
It can be used for humans. I get it. I totally...
Not just could be used for humans, is often used for humans along with all the other drugs I took. All human drugs.
Yes,
they know it's a human drug.
It's right, but
they lied.
The thing,
it's defamatory.
It is. Yeah, they shouldn't have done that.
It's defamatory, right?
Well, I don't know.
He's talking about ivermectin, and that's a guy trying so hard to keep his job at CNN because if he knows if he tells the truth, he'll get in big trouble.
I think Don Lemon still worked him over pretty good. He was pretty scared on the when he was walking all that back.
So it goes on.
It's defamatory.
I bet it is.
Yeah, well, I'm not a lawyer.
It's a lie.
Well, see, here's the thing. You can have nuanced discussions about this.
You can't have nuanced discussions about lying about someone taking horseshoe worm.
There was no glee, by the way, from her.
I didn't watch her.
Anyone takes people's illness.
Yes, they do.
They don't want you to get sick, Joe.
Yes, they do.
They
were
want you to get
upset
sick.
that I got healthy. That's one thing they didn't report on. The fact that I was negative 5 days later. And working out 6 days later.
Well,
6 days after infection, I was back in the gym.
I'm glad.
Felt great.
I'm glad you do. I really am.
Me too. Thank you.
Most of the people.
I'm glad you're glad. You're a nice guy.
Most of the people I know, I think, would be glad that you. I don't think that there was any.
There's a lot of people out there that weren't glad. But my point is, you're working for a news organization. If they're lying about a comedian taking horse medication, what are they telling us about Russia? What are they telling us about Syria? Do you understand that that's why people get concerned about the veracity of the news?
The concern was look, just the nuanced part of this, and you're not taking a horse dewormer. I get it. You got that as a legitimate medication from a pharmacy.
Somebody gave me. That's kind of a joke. My friend Megan brought.
Is the nuance that he gets paid a lot of money by CNN?
That's the nuance.
The context we're missing.
He kept trying to say, yes, it is also used for, and Joe Rogan said, no, it's not. It can also. It is primarily a human medicine. and he kept trying to say that anyway. And then Joe had to school him on natural immunity. Watch this.
So for you, Joe Rogan.
Yes.
I would say you've had it.
Yes.
So now get one shot of the vaccine.
No.
Why not?
Because I have better immunity than I would if I was vaccinated. Right?
Yes.
Don't I?
I think your immunity is really good.
So why, if I've already gotten through COVID and I was really only sick for a day, and then 5 days later I was negative, And I do have the natural antibodies now. Why would I take a chance in getting vaccinated on top of that?
By the way, I'm glad you're better. I'm
Thank
glad
you.
it only lasted a day.
You're probably the only one at CNN that's glad.
No. We're not.
The rest of them are all lying about me taking horse medication. And we should talk about that.
That bothered you.
It should bother you too. They're lying at your network about people taking human drugs versus drugs for veterinary.
Calling it a horse dewormer is not a flattering.
So you see how he tried to do it? Anyway, I don't need to go over that again. We went over it. So there you go. Crosby, Still, Nash, and Young in bed with the people raping the planet. They just don't like Joe Rogan being able to question Fauci and the big pharma narrative. Isn't that weird? Sounds like the opposite of a rocker, because it is. We're going to Chicago, Sacramento, San Diego, Bakersfield. See you there. Go to JimmyDoreComedy.com for a link for all our tickets.